Hello everyone, Envy here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one I have some very exciting news to share, and that is going to be that Stellar Miracle was officially revealed. So this is going to be the special set focusing around Terapagos and the terrestrial mechanic, I guess. And what's really exciting about this, of course, is that the Terapagos was actually leaked a while ago, along with a bunch of other cards, including Galvantula, Cinderace, and Lapras. And we kind of speculated at the time that they could possibly be real, but there was, some doubts, mainly the fact that they looked, I guess, too good to be true. And, if you want some more spoilers for the set, I guess, then feel free to go check out that video. But I won't go over those cards again in this video just for time's sake and to keep it simple. But yeah, so Terapagos was indeed real, and which is quite cool, actually. It is a bit scary, the card. I think it could be very, very good, but at the same time, we'll have to see, as always, how good these decks end up being. But of course, very excited to take a look at some new cards. So something to note actually right off the bat is that they don't have the special mechanic label like Stellar, for example. So they can't be targeted by cards or effects beyond their Tera label, which is important because it means that whatever support they decide to release for these Pokemon, even if they are like the more advanced terrestrial versions, I guess, of cards, that support will still affect all the other Terra Pokemon that they've released so far. So, all the way back to Arcanine and Gyarados in the first set, but also more recently like Dragapult and Charizard, which is something to bear in mind as we go through today's reveals. But yeah, very, very scary in that regard as well. But on to some new cards. We have a new Noctowl that says when you evolve it, you may search your deck for any two trainers. However, you can only use this ability if you have a Tera Pokemon in play. So realistically, actually, you only need like a Terapagos, for example, on the bench in order to use this ability, which is, playing in fact that Terapagos itself does 30 damage for each of your bench Pokemon, which is sort of like the main attack in that deck. And you'll see some more support as we go through as to why Noctowl will be a great engine for Terapagos. But basically, what I'm thinking here is Noctowl could also just be really good in something like Charizard. This can guarantee your next Rare Candy Charizard. It can guarantee you finding your Ace spec. It can find any trainer card. So, just seems like a very, very strong card, as well as the fact that you could play this in conjunction with stuff like Dragapult. And it's also worth mentioning at this point, there is a stadium that will increase your bench size to 8 if you have any Terra Pokemon in play. So once again, it's very possible to see Noctowl just being a very powerful engine, I would say, in a lot of decks. It's maybe a bit hard to shoehorn this combo into just any deck. Like, you wouldn't want to go out of your way, maybe, just to play like Terapagos, that stadium, plus Noctowl. It might be a bit too much. But I think in stuff like Dragapult and Charizard, and certainly, of course, the Terapagos deck itself, it would be worth it. So, yeah, very, very strong ability. Looking forward to experimenting with this card. Next up is we have a Fanrotom, which does have 70 HP, so a wee bit fragile, but does have the ability Fast Call as well, or Fan Call, I should say. Once in your turn, you may search your deck. Once during your first turn, that's important keywords in there. You may search your deck for 3 colorless Pokemon with 100 HP or less, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck, and you can't use more than one of these abilities during your turn. And then the attack of 1 colorless energy does do 70 damage, which is quite nice for sniping Charmanders and whatnot. If there isn't a stadium card in play, however, this attack fails. But we all know what stadium you're going for with this card. You're going for Area Zero. But yeah, very strong effect, of course. You can find your Noctowls, your Hoothoots, your Bouffalantes, which I'll talk about in just a sec. So yeah, seems like a very strong effect to buff Terapagos. Is it good outside of Terapagos? Not really sure it's worth it in most situations. Like, maybe if there was ever a monocolor deck. I mean, Lugia doesn't really have any Pokemon that are 100 HP or less. I mean, of course, in GLC, this is definitely worth considering, of course, and it's probably the only card, funnily enough, for GLC in this, or out of all these reveals, just because of how they interact with Terra Pokemon. So that's kind of cool, I guess, in a way. But yeah, Fanrotom, definitely more of a Terapagos card. Just not sure if there are many other uses, at least ones that strike to me immediately. I mean, I guess like Dodrio, funnily enough, actually. But yeah, Dodrio and Terapagos are like the only ones that really strike to me. Then we have Bouffalant, which has the ability Curly Wall. Says if you have another Bouffalant in place, you need at least 2 of these out, but the stadium will make that really easy. You just nest ball for a few of these, and then of course you still have Fanrotom to work with. but your basic colors Pokemon take 60 less damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. And you can't apply more than one of these abilities at a time. So you have to have two Buffalon in play, but you only get the minus 60 reduction. I mean, I'm only saying minus 60 like it's no big deal. Minus 60 is a lot, especially when your lead basic Pokemon attacker has 230 HP. So yeah, that's fantastic. Seems really, really strong. I would definitely say it's worth it in the Terapagos deck, especially, of course, if you get Area Zero down. And then, of course, you have the Fan Rotom, of course, to find Buffalont. You've got Noctowl to find the Stadium. You can see how this deck just kind of builds itself at that point. So, I mean, you probably don't need more than 3 copies of Buffalont in a deck list, but still, I definitely say this card is probably worth it in the Terapagos build at least. But it'd be interesting to see if it's good enough, because minus 60 is a lot of damage to be reducing, to be fair. So, yeah, pretty cool. Then we get to Terapagos himself with 230 HP, which is a lot for a basic to have. It's not quite as much as like Raging Bolt, but 230 is still a lot. Still has the Tera effect, which is nice, prevent all damage onto his Pokemon by attacks when it's on the bench, so no Radiant Greninja sniping, or no Greninja EX sniping. 2 attacks, Unified Beatdown does 30 for each of your bench Pokemon, but if you go second, you can't use this attack during your first turn. Now, I said when this card was leaked, if it ends up being real, then it has to have one of two things. Either a way to increase bench size, or a way to increase energy acceleration. Otherwise, this is such a weird wording to have when the only thing it has synergy currently with, really, is Double Turbo. And spoiler alert, we got both. We got both the Area Zero Skyfield Stadium, and we got a supporter that ramps energy. So yeah, kind of crazy, but Terapagos, they've clearly learned the lesson, I guess, from Eternatus. Although even then, Eternatus VMAX couldn't attack going second. So I guess because it's a basic, they want to just introduce a failsafe, so you can't just swing for bonkers damage, turn 1 going second. But either way, Unified Beatdown, very efficient attack. I could definitely see this being a deck. It doesn't really take a lot to get going, I don't think. Like Area Zero under Depths, of course, being the nice stapled card to build around. You get the Buffalons down, you play 1 or 2 Fan Rotoms, you got Noctowl to find any trainers that you want, including your Stadium, which is important. So also, there is a new supporter card that was revealed recently, Color Resist Tenacity, that will allow you to find a Stadium and an energy card. So, yeah, it's all coming together now. It's all coming together. But yeah, Terapagos, very cool first attack. And then Crown Opal for a Grass, Water, Lightning does 180, and during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from basic, non-colorless Pokemon. So, anti-Ogerpon, anti-Raging Bolt, I guess. It's a bit of a strange thing, because it's kind of like, why would they release Ogerpon just to release this kind of attack in the next set? Feels kind of bad for Ogerpon players, but, aside from that, it's not really super worth it. 3 different energy to do 180. You're never really getting a 1-hit kill on stuff that's not Luminion or Squawkabilly, so yeah, and you're not hitting anything for weakness either, being colorless. So yeah, it's a bit expensive, but of course these are colors for Lost Zone to work with. We said that in the leak reveal as well. So definitely think Lost Zone will like to take advantage of this. But basically, if you want to play the Stadium in your deck, you want the whole Area Zero Noctowl engine, I guess, so to speak, with other things, like Raikou, Electricity Generator, Entei, for example, you will, just probably be relying on Unified Beatdown and Terapagos. But yeah, definitely think Terapagos could be played, I guess, as a tech card, and then you could kind of build like a whole Area Zero engine around it, if that makes sense, where you play Terapagos, the Stadium, and the Noctowl. So yeah, I definitely think that would be worth trying out. But yeah, Area Zero is kind of what makes this all work together. It's kind of like the centerpiece, I guess, of the deck. So if a player has a Tera Pokemon in play, that player can have 8 Pokemon on their bench. So what immediately distinguishes this from Skyfield is the fact that it only works for 1 player. So you're not going to get the buff from your opponent having one of these stadiums out. So it does put more pressure on the Stadium Wars, I would say. So it's kind of like forcing players to definitely respect stadiums once more. And I definitely think Lost Vacuum will see a lot more players as a result of this card existing. But this card is just amazing because it breathes life into so many more archetypes. Like Palkia V-Star, for example, seems way more scary now. You've got Palkia, you've got Charizard, who, often Charizard players seem to complain, at least from my experience, is that, they don't have a lot of bench space, basically, So bench space, that's a big thing. You've got Dragapult players, of course. You could play more Dracoloaks and Zartus, I guess, on the bench, have more room for tech cards. So yeah, it seems like a very cool stadium. Zork V-Star is maybe a bit of a pipe dream, I would say, just because you need so much to get it going, but it is an option if you really want to do it. And just things like that, it could be cool. Even the more memeish things like, what is it, a Pachirisu or something that does like 10 damage and then 30 more for each of your bench lightning Pokemon. So you can do these like weird things with like Pachirisu, Raikou, generators, that sort of thing would be very fun. And of course, my personal favorite, which is stuff like Entei, Monkey Dory with Iron Valiant right now. So very cool buff for that card. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to try the stadium out. Like all of this just seems to work together beautifully. Like even if you don't play Buffalont and Fanrotom in the same deck, you could definitely play Noctowl, Terapagos, and the stadium together, basically as its own sort of mini package, I guess. It's kind of what I'm pushing here. But yeah, very cool stadium. Then we have Crispin, which says search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards of different types, reveal them, put one in your hand, and attach the other energy to one of your Pokemon, then shuffle. So very, very strong supporter. Just means that you can unified beatdown a lot easier, which is nice. It could also give you options to do Crown Opal. And of course, because you played the stadium anyway, then you probably have bench space for things like Tatsugiri. You could even play like Pelipper or like Lost Zone Banette if you really wanted to, and you could get like really funky with these decks. So you got Lost Zone Banette, right, to retrieve either Colorless Experiment or Crispin. Then at that point, you can start to like lean into Mirage Gate potentially. There's so many different ways you can do with away with these cards, and I think a lot of people will look at these and think, kind of broken, which I sort of agree. Like there is some broken aspect to all of this, but at the same time, it's opening the doors to so many new deck possibilities, and I think that's not something we should underrate. One of the big problems with this game lately has been just the amount of decks really isn't that much sometimes. Like it is there, the decks are there, but there's so many decks that aren't really that playable in the grand scheme of things, and hopefully, these cards just open the door to so many more. So yeah, Crispin seems like a very, very good card, at least for terrestrial Pokemon, but other Pokemon as well, potentially. Then we get to the last card that was revealed, which is Sparkling Crystal. It says the attack cost of the Tera Pokemon this card is attached to is reduced by 1 of any type of energy. So I guess Dragapult can now attack for 1 energy, which isn't scary at all. But to be honest, that's probably not even the best thing you can do with this, because if you remember from the leaked video, if you didn't see it, that's fair enough, but there is a Lapras EX that was leaked, which we can assume at this point was, of course, real. That said, for 3 energy, look at the top 20 cards of your deck and attach any number of basic energy you find there to your Pokemon in any way you like. Yikes. So Sparkling Crystal would mean that attack is for 2 energy, which is suddenly a lot more playable thanks to, Crispin. So maybe Crispin with Sparkling Crystal on that Lapras, and then all of a sudden that's very, very plausible. You could even do that turn 1 going second, actually, if you pull it off. So I mean, you'd still have to find the A spec, but is it that hard to do? Maybe not. It's quite a scary combo. Like if you really want to do beams and stuff, you could Arvin for Sparkling Crystal and something like a what's it called, Energy Sticker from 151, and then get a bit lucky on a coin flip. But yeah, it is possible. Let's just say that it is possible. But yeah, a very, very scary card. Does mean the Unified Beatdown can be used for 1 energy. Does reduce Charizard's attack cost, although that doesn't matter too much. It does mean that Gyarados actually can attack for 4 energy to do its big one cure move, which is quite funny. So maybe Gyarados can come back into relevance. That'd be quite funny. Arcanine can attack for 2 energy. There's a lot of different effects that this card has. So yeah, definitely interested in trying it out. It's of course competing for an A-spec slot, but still seems really cool. And one last thing that I wanted to mention here was that there was these energy revealed, which I'm assuming are going to make their way into the West. They might not yet, but I hope they do. And they have this kind of like mosaic pattern on them, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, so that's it for the reveals. I'm personally really, really excited for these. I think these all look fantastic. They look super fun to mess around with. The Terapagos deck, of course, just builds itself, but there's just so many different options as well. So yeah, super excited to try out Terapagos and Area Zero as its own mini engine, I guess, giving decks huge bench spaces to work with. But yeah, looking forward to the Stadium Wars as well. That'll be fun. Also, shout out to the guy actually in the comment section who mentioned Glamora EX, which shrinks bench size down to 4 Pokemon. Also, Collapse Stadium could be massive going into this set. So yeah, worth picking up a copy of Collapse Stadium, maybe. But yeah, very, very cool card reveals. Let me know what you think down below, as always. And yeah, thank you for watching.